you might get tour players that are successful using techniques that probably the average person, for example, kid like Joaquin Neiman, right? I watch their swing, and I'm sure there's plenty of young kids trying to imitate that. And I'm wondering how safe, from an injury standpoint, is that stroke pattern to model, for
Well,
somebody to copy?
well, I would say you got to look at the joints. Like, are the joints moving near end range or outside of their normal range? That leads to injury. That's not me talking. That's just science. That's just human anatomy. The real question should be, how do you help a person like Wacko? Right? He's a talented player. Right? Where to start? Like, you got all these theories on the internet. Yeah. Where do you start? Where do you put pen to paper and say, okay, Joaquin Neiman, welcome aboard. You want me to help you? You have a problem. Where's your problem? Can you articulate it? Probably can't. No good player really can. They
They
go,
just
oh,
do
I
it.
just keep missing this shot. Okay, I'll fix that shot. So you put the car back together as much as it needs to be put, so that you can, duct tape it and put it back out on the course and let it run the track. But again, you're trying to look at it through what's going to improve his contact, what's going to improve his distance, what's going to improve his command of the curve. That's all. I don't have guys who ask me for 20 yards who play on tour. They want to know where this ball's going. Alex Shaker wanted the ball in the fairway today. Why? It was left clean in place, and it was also a better lie. This Bermuda rough down here was squirrely, it was wet, it was thatchy, it was tough to control distances. You put any one of these tour players in the middle of the fairway with a clean ball, they can hit their numbers. They have a chance. But now you add in all these variables, they don't want it 20 yards. Like, Alex wasn't the longest player in the field this week. Did he hit some bomb drives? Yeah. But he was the lowest score, right? Which, again, that's the whole point. The long drive didn't win the trophy this week. Alex did. Why? Because he controlled his low point better than everybody else. He had a predictable curve better than anybody else, and he putted great. So those matter. He found
That's
his
what it
ball
is.
in positions where he can make putts. Isn't that really the point?
Lowest score wins.
Lowest scores win. Putting yourself in a position so that you can get the next shot closer over time, consistently, without injury, and doing it for the rest of your life. It does no good if you can do this for 3 years and then maybe that's a philosophical point. Will Zalatoris made what, 30 million in 4 or 5 years?
I mean, it's longevity.
Yeah.
You want to. I
We
think
all
you
want
trade.
Tiger to play next year on the Champions Tour. We all want him to come out. He just had back surgery and a replacement for a disc. I mean, geez, that's serious.
Yeah, it started to get bad then. Yeah. He started to, but but there's a case of somebody who's, in my opinion, overcame the instruction and still had the will to win, or whatever he did. He made it happen regardless. So
He still has
it's
some pretty good geometry.
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't by accident. I mean, you look at his hand path, you look at his swing direction. He knew this ball was going to start left and cut back off the driver, and then he knew this ball was going to start a little right and curve left, and he wanted to open the face up and cut it. He knew his geometry, and it didn't fail.
Yeah.
You don't build bridges out of luck or hope, right?
No.
Or mental acuity. Ralph, they're going to hire you because you've done it before, and we trust that you have mental vision that you're going to. No, they're hiring you because your geometry and your math and your principles and your force vectors line up well, and that bridge is still standing. And it's tested and peer reviewed, and
Exactly.
inspectors came in and they tested it. Yeah. There were golf instructors who don't get peer reviewed, right? Stacking
I
tip
mean,
guys.
it's a. I had that discussion. Actually, I had the discussion with Ted that in order for me to maintain a professional license, uh, I have to accumulate 24 hours of continuing education every 3 years and submit it to the state board to say,
Sure.
I'm trying to stay on top of my game and learn and evolve, but that doesn't necessarily happen in the golf industry. So, I mean, nobody's ever been sued for giving an incompetent lesson, but there's really no standards, so to speak. Right.
Right.
So you're talking about these, and with the advent of social media, there's a lot being disseminated out there.
We're getting swing tips from a football player on one of the most popular brands in golf right now. Here's how I do it. a running back. I'm like, dude,
Or
what?
running back.
Like, there's a social media video, I saw it today. I'm not going to name the company, but you can look at all the major top 8 brands. There, it's one of them. Couldn't believe it. I was getting a swing tip from him. I don't even think he won a. I don't think he won a Super Bowl either. I mean, if Tom Brady did it, being from Boston, I might listen. But
Yes, that's where, you guys seem to have a lot of education, at least internally, as a group, as an entity. See a lot of these forums and symposiums and this stuff, and people cross training, correlating, exchanging ideas, and et cetera, et cetera.
and I would say that it was a necessity in order to because we're the most criticized. I don't think that's an argument. We're the most criticized group on the net.
That's the most arrows, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you publish the first article that was published in Golf Digest, Golf Magazine, whichever one it was, not only did they write the article, but then they had the 5 instructors, the top 5 instructors, bash us and tell us what was wrong with it. That never happened. So right out of the gate, we've been behind the 8 ball from a marketing standpoint. It had a name to it versus just Andy and Mike. But, the magazine said, well, we need a name. And you had a list of 10 names that were horrible.
Pick one.
And tilt to be stacked was the ideal one, which because you're tilting in order to keep a stacked vertebral column. Right. As you tilt to the left and turn, like that's your vertebral column stacked. We don't want the head back. We don't want the head forward and hyperextension. We want the vertebral column or the head to be centered. If you keep your forward bend and you turn, there are guys on the internet teaching that today. Hell, I just saw a post by Mike Bender saying Woods had his, didn't shift his head, turned his right. What did it say? He turned his left shoulder over his right foot at the top of the backswing. He's demonstrating his head is in front of a tree, and there's another tree over here, and his head has moved like 12 inches to the trail side, and he got his neck hunched forward and is in forward bend. I'm like, he's saying one thing that his head's not moving, and the other reality is his head's moving to the trail side and down about 5 inches. But don't look at the man behind the curtain because Zach Johnson won. I'm not here to pick on other instructors, but it's this picking on us as a group that has made us better. We've had to be able to have these discussions with scientists, with biomechanists, with all the science crowd. I'll just lump down of all the laboratory people who have had their language and their vocabulary. You have a vocabulary in your profession. I don't act like I know it, even if I stayed at a Holiday Inn. But every group has their vocabulary. Well, if we're talking about the body, the medical field and anatomy has that written down since whenever Gray's Anatomy was written in the 17 or 1800s, a long time ago, right? Every muscle, every joint, every tendon, every ligament has a Latin root word to it, which means one thing, right? If I go to Australia tomorrow or Japan in a couple of weeks and I say supination of the lead hand, that only means one thing, right? Protracting the trail shoulder only means one thing, right? It's not ambiguous. I'm not going to just flick my wrist. I'm going to talk about radial and ulnar deviation.
Subject to interpretation. It's
Exactly.
clearly defined.
So because of the critique, we've had to up our vocabulary, up our game, and up our knowledge base to make sure that any critique of us, warranted or not, we have to be able to address properly because we're trying to build the golf instruction community. We're not trying to make it smaller. We're just explaining, here's our way of teaching golf. We base on the 3 fundamental tasks. Every student is based on those 3 fundamental tasks. And we go from there. Like I've seen Andy, at big forums and at the PGA show. Okay. Why don't you explain how you teach your student why the ball went right? When your student turns to you and says, why that ball cut to the right? You tell them because the face is open. You say the path is to the left. You say the face was to the right. What about the swing direction? Was it way to the right? Was it way to the left? What's your logical reasoning on how you get there? Right? It's not, we believe every instructor who's any good has a theory of how they critically assess and diagnose what they saw and how they make a recommendation. And yet we're the only ones who seem to have put it pen to paper. No other instructor, they got this magic does. We're showing you the playbook. Here's the formula. There's only 2 ways that ball ends up that far right. Right? the path was to the right and the face was open to it, or the path was to the left and the face was close to the target line, but way over it, like hitting a pull cut or a push cut, two different solutions.
Mhm.
If I'm swinging to the left and the ball ended up way right, that's a different solution than the swing that's going to the right with the face to the right. So where the ball ends up and how it got there matters to us. So we have to actually look at those pieces and logically use a set of logic on where to go. Like PGA of America still thinks grip, aim, and stance. I just taught at my alma mater 3 classes on Monday at Methodist University teaching the next generation of PGA instructors. And they still believe grip, aim, and stance are fundamental because that's what the book says. Well, what's the logic in taking somebody's grip and turning it 30 degrees if they're still topping the ball? I'm here for it. How are you doing that? If Mrs. Haverkamp can't make contact, moving their stance from closed 30 degrees to square, how is that going to help them? Where's the logic? Where's the proof? I can make the proof of, okay, I'm not going to start with grip. I'm not going to start with stance. I'm not going to start with aim, assuming they're kind of close enough, right? Beginner, you're going to have to show them where to hold. Fine, but that's not a fundamental, it's a variable. Golf mission said it right there. Grip, variable. I'm going to start with their weight forward, the arm straight, and I'm going to teach them how to make control and hit the ground in the same spot every time, right? So that they can get contact and learn the resiliency of the ball face contact. And then I'm going to start adding power and layering on this system. Like we're going to build a foundation, then the next piece, and the next piece. I know 3D. I'm starting to get into printing, so you don't always build the foundation first. It's kind of weird,
It's interesting.
but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's cool. So, to Andy and Mike's credit, right? So they came out and they were the swing whisperers. One of the
Yeah,
things is the minute you get to the acme, you get to the top, just get ready because the arrows are coming. Okay. They were at one point that was the hottest thing since sliced cheese. And everybody on tour wanted to know, and they were the swing whisperers, etc. Right? But mm, they went on the Charlie Rose show.
I remember that interview. I've seen it. Yep.
They were the original disruptors when it came to the ball flight laws.
Yep.
They called it. They said that this is how it is. It's wrong, and you know the, the manual had it this way, and John Jacobs had it that way, and all these. They said no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
They helped us all. They helped us all. They helped us all. Whether you're a stack and tilt person or not, they clarified a lot of things right there and then.
That's nice of you to say. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and and then I've always seen Andy. Andy is he's a soft spoken guy. I've never seen him. There's a lot of people out there that think that the louder they speak, the more they're going to get across. And I'm of the impression that don't raise your voice, just work on your argument. So he gets his point across without having to do jumping jacks.
Well, how can I say this? There is a golf instructors over the generationally, from the beginning of golf instruction, I guess, helped one person, and all of a sudden that guy promoted him and said, "Hey, this guy helped me. You go see him." And the word of mouth aspect of it. And golf instructors at a country club tend to become praised quite a bit and put on a pedestal when they get some success, whether they know how they got that success or not. Or at least back in my day, like, well, you went to see this guy. Well, he didn't really help me, but oh, he's great. No, and you go to another guy and go to the other guy, and you kind of get lost in the soup of, well, how can I get help? And everybody knew back in the day, if you cut the ball, go to Mike Bender. He'll get your draw back. If you're slicing the ball, if you're hooking the ball too much, go to um, Hal Sutton's coach, and he'll get you to slice the back,
Valor.
right? And he kind of had instructors for swings and and at least you have some boundaries there of keeping it in play. And then then all of a sudden they have to prove their work, and they would just well, listen, there's a very famous instructor in Smithtown, Long Island, who, oh, I can't demonstrate hitting the ball.
Well, that instructor
Yep.
actually used to fly Greg McHatton out. I took lessons with him, and
We all did.
I went to but he was well renowned PGA teaching summits. He invented that, didn't he? And he did.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there.
He's, yeah.
When you had to corner him to demonstrate the task, hands off. So
It's so anyway.
I have to be able to demonstrate the task and then explain what I did and show you how to do it. That's the true art of education, because communication is time distance source. So source distance effect rather. So I've got a concept in my head that I need to bring into the physical universe and demonstrate that, right? We're speaking here over Zoom or whatever this software is. I'm saying I've got an idea in my head. I'm using my voice to communicate across time and distance. You're receiving on your end. It's going in through your tympanic membranes and then converting into signals and words, or converting into something in your brain. And how do I know that concept or that phrase was received and duplicated? There's only one way you can demonstrate it. Right. So I'm paying attention to the words that I'm using, to the reaction to see if they duplicated it, and then the demonstration. Oh, no, I meant this, or I meant that. Right. Can you demonstrate it? If I tell one of my students, open the face 3 more degrees, and they close it, we got a problem. Open the face, this ball's going to start to the right, and then the path, because you're hitting the ball on the backside of the arc, is going to draw it back. Okay. Now the wind's coming a little bit more from the right. Open the face a little bit more. Okay. So you're going to hit a straight push and the wind's going to pull it. Yeah. Okay. So we have a system, and now we're calibrating the right amount for the player for the day.
Yeah. And, it's, you guys seem to have it. And I want to I'm going to get around to taking a few stack and toe lessons. I mean, it's really close to what I've worked with Craig. And I enjoy watching, a guy like Rob Cheney. He's got really good material, clear, concise. He's very articulate, and it's very well organized. So he's not.
Now, be honest with me, Ralph, and Rob's a great dear friend of mine. I was up in Wimbledon with him this year at his home facility. But be honest, if your New York accent sounded as pretty and posh as his, I think people would believe you too.
He's a colonist, he's from the motherland.
So I'm from Boston. I'm from Boston, and my accent is horrible.
Yeah, Boston's tough. Boston or Brooklyn, I don't know which one, but
well, you guys are much more charming, especially when you say I'm walking here.
Yeah,
no doubt. But I mean, we can park the car pretty hard in Harvard Yard and drink.
Yeah, there you go.
Pretty wicked hot. So, and my friend Seth Thompson from West Virginia always makes the gripe. If I was born in Australia, South Africa, or England, this accent inequality that I receive just because of my voice, being a hillbilly from the sticks of West Virginia. But but Rob knows his stuff. He knows material, cold, and he's got a wonderful voice.
Yeah, it's the way he goes about it. He's, there's a cadence to watching one of those YouTube videos that gets you like, okay, yeah. So you can follow along pretty well. And that's like, I enjoy watching him. So
you don't have that, by the way. For the record, I don't have that poshness. I just don't. I don't have the time or the patience for it.
He thinks it out before he thinks before he, where I come from, everybody's in reaction mode. Like you've already you got to be 3 steps ahead of the next guy, or else you're gonna get.
You're gonna get mugged. Let's say
exactly. Exactly. So he's got the right.
But we can drive anywhere in the world. They can't. That's the other. If you can drive in Europe or Boston, you can drive anywhere. I'll throw in Philly too.
I almost got hit by a car, and I didn't. Just forget about the driving part. As a pedestrian,
yeah,
you're looking the wrong way. He's coming. You're always in the wrong direction.
But the key was almost right. Believe me, you'd feel it if you hit him. Don't worry about it. Because you're a field driver, right? You're a field driver. Mechanics don't matter. You're a field driver. I'm a field player. Mechanics don't matter. I'm just thrilled that somebody cares enough to ask me to be on a podcast and talk with them. I'm honored being just a kid from Watertown, Mass, made it to the tour and coaching. It blows my mind. You're catching me on a day where I'm on a high of watching Alex win today. I walked the back 9 with him. It was wet. It was windy. We had 25-mile-per-hour gusts. We had Ernie Els going 4 under, making a charge. And then, Alex birdied 17, par 5, got up by the green. And then he had a 2-shot lead, back to a 2-shot. We had a 4-shot lead to start the day, or a 3-shot lead to start the day. We got it to 4. Went down to 1 through 14. 15. Went down to 1. Ernie birdied 17. 3-putted 15. Yeah, 3-putted 15. Parred 16. Ernie didn't birdie 18. We birdied 17, and then Alex had a 2-shot lead on the tee box and drained a 45-foot putt on the last hole to cap it off like a champion.
I close with a birdie.
Yeah, 45-footer for birdie. So on 18, having a 2-shot lead, I can tell you all he tried to do is hit the fairway. He wasn't trying to maximize his ground reaction forces, right? And
You have the adrenaline going, though.
he's trying to control the forces.
Yes.
Not too much, not too little. There's a radius here that we're trying to monitor, right? We got a double pendulum model, clubs on a stick. We got it. The art doesn't care about our emotions. It just follows the rules of the geometry and the physics of it.
The physics, right?
So
Geometry and physics, yeah.
yeah, the application of geometry and physics.
Yes.
So we need to make sure he's swinging. I can tell you our cue. He actually wrote it on a flag. He wanted a low exit all week. And on Thursday, we had one of the worst practice sessions. He couldn't control his low point. He was hitting everything a little high in the face, and his swing direction was excessively out to the right. And I said, we've got to lower that exit. So I just took an alignment stick and put it on his lead shoulder. You'll see that video of us on the net. I do that a lot with him. Put it right on his net, right by his hand. I mean, I am 4 fingers away from his golf club. I'm in there deep so that his exit traces the arc.
Low left.
Around. I wouldn't say low left. I would say less right. He needs to swing straight. Right?
So I'm playing, right?
Or left. But he's not swinging to the left. He's swinging straight, which is less right. Is it?
Okay.
I'm trying to make a point here that we're not swinging to the left. We're swinging straight. And anything to the right of it needs to get more left, but it's not swinging to the left.
And so you're just putting the plane, putting it
Yeah.
back on.
I'm making sure he knows where the swing plane is. He's not letting the forces overtake and swing excessively out to the right. So he has to rein this thing in on the front side. So we hammered that in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning before he teed off. I got that stick in there. Jenna Coughlin was filming me from behind the ropes. So one of the instructors posted it, me holding the stick right on her, or right on him. So he wanted to hit the fairway on 18. It went in the rough by about a foot, went through the fairway. It's about right. And he had, I think, 130 yards to the front edge, 145 to the pin. He just chipped a little something, tore the green, ran it up to the green, had 45 feet for 3 putts to win, which is a nice place to be, and he just buried it right in the heart.
Yeah. 3 putts, you can charge it. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. How much maintenance do these guys need? How much, you know what I mean? Like daily? They call it a checking you daily to look at them.
I would call it a daily calibration. Tom Pernice and I, Tom uses 2 of us, David Tarash and myself, and he uploads videos to his on form, and then I'll look at it when I can and give feedback. And we have our geometry, and he just wants somebody to keep him on task. But it's a daily calibration. I mean, Porsches are in the shop quite a bit, and these guys are high spec machines. A degree here, a degree there. I mean, Doug Barron basically, we change his. If you look on my Instagram, you'll see when I worked with Doug when he won at Pebble, he kept hitting the ball too high on the face on the putter. And yes, I teach putting. I teach golf, whatever golf is. So, I teach golf, and he was pulling the putts, and he was hitting it too high in the face. I got down on my Samsung Galaxy at 920 frames per second. We could see this putter head coming in where it's making contact on the face. I said, Doug, you're hitting it a little bit too high in the face. And it was the same problem Kevin Kisner had earlier in the year. So we made a little device out of 3D printing, made a little device that had a little bit of rise to it. So he had to miss the little plastic piece on the ground. So it was just a little ramp base that you could put the ball in, got little pegs in it so it stays in the same spot. And we practiced on that. So he was hitting it lower on the face, feeling like he's topping the ball, but he's still hitting in the center. Lower on the face is to the middle when he's too high. And all of a sudden the ball started taking off with top spin. I was measuring it on my quad. We could see the roll. just hugging the ground on that POA, much better. And he sat there for an hour hitting, 12-foot putts and making every single one on a 2% slope, where he was like low siding because hitting higher face is closing too much. So that was a nice piece. But then I've got Dickie Pride, who was hitting it too low on the face. I can't give him that device. So I put a dime on the ground. I told him to hit the dime. Right. So when you have a system, you know what's too much and what's not enough. People are so consumed with averages, but they don't have a model. And they use the average as the model. Well, what if you had all these Dickie Prides? The model would be too low on the face. If you had too many Duck Barons in your stacks, right? You'd have too many people hitting it high in the face. We've got a model of where the geometry should be. Center of mass of the ball should be lined up at the center of mass of the putter head on a slight ascend, hitting maybe a millimeter below the equator. Okay, let's start with that. If you don't like that, we can have a conversation with that. But if that's what I'm trying to teach, how am I going to get my player from wherever they are to New York City, right? If they're in Florida, they got to go north on I-95. If they're in Seattle, they got to get on I-90 and head east, and then take the 87 down.
I know you'll get to your Boston, though.
I was going to Boston. I don't like the Yankees. I'll go straight to Boston.
Okay.
I'll go Fenway.
I got you.
So there's always a way to get home, right? Where is the solid strike point? So you have to have those boundaries. That's where teaching with a model makes sense. I don't know anybody who doesn't want to hit the sweet spot. That's my model. Okay, I want to hit the sweet spot. What's going to be more advantageous, right? Now, there's 100 different ways to get Doug Barron or Dickie Pride to hit the center of the face. I'm not saying any one of those are right or wrong. I chose to do it with a feel of hit this dime on the ground or hit it over this little piece of plastic. Could I have gone in detail and tell him to get more radial deviation or lead wrist or get more elbow flexion or get more shoulder extension? Absolutely. I might have as well. But at the end of the day, just do that, right? Just get a little bit more rise and then calibrate to that. Let's look at the video. Alex always asks me, is that low enough on the exit? Like, Alex, it's low enough. How do you know it's too low? You might start pulling a few. Great. So on 17, when he pulled this 5-wood going for the green in 2 and had 8 feet off the green, about a 25-foot putt from off the green, I was quite happy because that pull wasn't a push cut to the right. It was a straight pull left of the flag, set up a 2-shot advantage on the last hole.
But it takes a certain amount of bond, relationship, trust, because at that level, I mean, 1 degree open could amount to $100,000. Could be. It doesn't take much to, you know what I mean?
Well, I personally can't put the relationship from a degree to a dollar amount, but I can put degrees to feet, or to yards. So 1 degree at 300 yards is 5.2 yards to the right.
Okay.
Right. That's just Euclidean math, right?
Yeah.
0.2 at 300 yards. So you got a fairway that's 40 yards wide, right? So that's 8 degrees roughly, give or take. So if I set this face 3 degrees to the right, swing 4 degrees to the right, it'll draw back to 2 and roll out to 1, and have that pattern. Okay. Now, if you want to have it a different pattern, fine. But let's set what the parameters need to be. We have all these tools. We have gears. We have foresight. We have flight scope. We have all these wonderful technologies. But sometimes everything doesn't need to be measured, right? I am a track man. I know what 1 degree at 300 yards is. Oh, it looks like 5 yards. Okay, what's 5 yards? Well, you can kind of divide the fairway in half and you can do the math. You see, I don't know. I don't think I'm unique in knowing what 5 yards at 300 yards looks like, right? I can tell a bunker is 5 yards wide or a tree or whatever. It's close enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's kind of how the math lines up. We have a model. I think every good instructor has a model. Even Butch Harmon, when he was cornered in the Met section, I think it was in 2012 or 2011, he did an open forum at one of the theaters there in Westchester for the Met PGA. It's on the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't teach. He took a shot at stack and tilt. He said, those stack and tilt guys, I don't teach everybody the same. Teach the same. I got JJ Henry. I got Troy Madison. They couldn't be any different. I got Dickie Pride and I got Alex Jacob. They have completely different ball flights, different ways to get around the course. I don't teach them the same. I got Brett Quigley, who has all of his weight forward now, and he's completely different than Dickie Pride. But there he is, Bush saying, I don't teach everybody the same. And then the next question was, well, how do you start a lesson? Well, first thing I do is I look at the divot, I look at the ball flight, I look at the grip, I look at the stance. Sounds like you have a system or systematic hierarchy, a checklist. I mean, isn't that science? Ralph, you're the science guy. Isn't that science or engineering? Like where to
Procedure.
start?
Yeah, protocol.
But they don't teach a system. That's nonsense. That's semantical argument saying that you don't do something when you do. That's the lie of it all. That's what bothers me the most.
Now you have one of your just so the fact that the veterans, the guys on the senior tour are now turning to stack and tilt kind of says something, right? Because a lot of those guys have spent a lot of time on the regular tours, some tour winners, and as
Yeah,
they,
they're champions.
I mean, the gray hair is not, the gray hair doesn't come with, exactly. So you have to earn them. So
Yes.
there's something, there has to be something to it, right? So,
I appreciate you saying that because to me, it's I feel very honored when a tour player, a champion, a major champion comes up to me and asks me a question. I will say that there aren't a lot of golf instructors who follow the tour. There's about 2 or 3 of us. We're all kind of friendly. So when a tour player at any level, never mind a champions level tour player who's the hardest tour to make, asks you a question, it's quite an honor. Uh, you know, fair play. Charlie and Alex, who play the Champions Tour, both have been with the system for about 10, 15 years. And then, Dickie Pride came to me. Doug Barron came to me. Quigley came to me. Uh, there's a lot of guys. I mean, I've answered last year. I answered questions for 14 different tour players, and not all of them were stack and tilt guys, or even met with Mike and Andy. Maybe I was first available, but they've seen how I work on the range. They see the success of my players, so they're all hesitant. Actually, I had Rocco Media asked me yesterday for my phone number. He made a joke with me. He says, "Man, you got 2 worst players. They can't do anything right." Jokingly enough, Doug Barron's hitting it so good. What are you going to do with him?
mhm.
Same thing with Alex. But like, there's Rocco Media asking me for help after he's one of the guys who's bashed stack and tilt for years, and he actually came around on it. He said
The antithesis of
he was.
stack.
The history, right? He came up to me and said, "You know what? I've seen what you're doing up close now. You guys are 100% right."
That's quite because I mean when we ran the Golden Bear facilities, right? So the instruction model was Nicholas Flick, Jim
Yep.
Flick Golf School.
Score.
Everybody was Nicholas Flick certified. The parent company was Family Golf Center, so at some point they made some kind of deal, and we bought Colbert Ballard Golf Schools.
Boy.
Became a real the company, man. You just gotta walk the line. But you're looking at this, and these guys are taking one type of lessons 1 week. The same students just get flipped over to this stuff, and like, what? Fire the right side. Whoa, man, it was tough. But whatever, it worked. And so when you talk about it's the hardest tour, now you also have a player. One of your players is a club pro, right?
I teach a lot of club pros. I
No, the
teach
club pro on the senior tour.
Steve Holmes. Yes. So
Okay,
Steve qualified for the PGA Championship when he was 51, playing the regular PGA Championship at Oak Hill.
right.
And he opened up and almost holed his second shot in the fairway on ESPN. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But Steve went to Q school last 2 years. They got rid of Q school this year. Very disappointed to hear that.
that's where I was going with that. Is that
But
so
yeah,
now
he
you won't
Mondayed
have
into
any
a couple
fun.
events. He played in the PGA Championship. He played at the Hogue this year. Played pretty good on both of those. Was top 5 after the first round at the Hogue. And then last year he also went to Q school in Japan. He's currently a full-time player on the Japanese senior tour. They only allowed 2 players from outside of Japan to apply to play. And there's a 4-level Q school that he went through. It takes like 8 months to finish. You go play 2 rounds, you go play 3 rounds. Like, it's crazy. He got in, and their season starts basically last month. There's a couple small events, but he's going to be there for the next 2 to 3 months, playing full time up there. Yeah, I work with Steve. I work with a bunch of club pros down in Texas. One really good club pro at Lohmeyer, another good guy. I do a lot of consulting. People have a lot of questions.
You're certifying instructors also.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I'll do the schools with Andy. We have a school network training here on next Saturday in Raleigh. I'm going to go to Richmond, drive back to Raleigh, and work with Andy. Andy will do the presentation. I'll kind of apply some color using the gears avatars and showing the data three-dimensionally of some of the people. So
And
make it,
how many instructors are you guys churning out a year?
I think we're up to, so there's a couple of levels. The introductory course allows you to be part of the network.
Mhm.
I think there's been over 2,000 people who've gone through that. Some people, Andy always says from day one, take as much or as little as you want from this system. If you want to wear the logo, wear the logo. If you don't want to wear the logo, don't have to wear the logo. As long as you become a better teacher, that's all he cares about. So right now, I think we have about 800 people that are currently certified. Of that, we have a secondary certification called authorized. So you can be in the network and then you can be authorized. I'm one of the authorized guys. And there's probably about 40 or 50 of us around the world that are leveled up enough to provide instruction to other instructors as well. So there's a lot more to just learning it in a 2-day, 1-day, 8-hour seminar. But that's a good introductory seminar. And there's clinics around the world that, Andy will show up at a country club, have a morning session, afternoon session, and just, give lessons and stuff. He'll do speaking seminars to PGAs and stuff. So I'm actually going to Japan. I was supposed to go with Alex, with Andy, but he's in Spain. So I'm going to go to Japan, kind of do an introductory. I'm not going to certify anybody, but I'm going to go do an introductory ground floor. Here's what stack and tilt is. Here's my experience with it. Gears is very popular over there. So I'm going to do a couple of gear seminars and kind of promote stack and tilt. And then in the future, Andy will show up and I'll try to go over as well. And we'll do a 2-man show of showing Japanese instructors what stack and tilt is, because it's relatively new in that country. There's a couple of instructors, but it's relatively new. We're trying to grow it. But
That's cool.
Europe's a hotbed for it. Spain, Europe, England, Portugal, Germany is huge. But somewhere, someday, every day, somebody's learning golf through stack and tilt, and that's fun because they're getting systematic. I mean, you got Nick Clearwater, who's got all the golf tech guys teaching them, their system, which is measured and proved positive, and it correlates very similar to stack and tilt. I wouldn't say there are any differences. They're still going to control the low point first. So the fundamentals are pretty much set in stone. They're not our fundamentals. This is what the good players demonstrate.
Yeah, and so I mean, you guys are a pretty tight knit group. You travel together, and I like it. I like watching it. I enjoy. I think everybody I've met in that from Stack and Tilt's been pretty cool. I mean, I don't.
Even a Bostonian, even a Bostonian like me.
You're the first guy, but to tell you the truth, it's that damn club on 107. You have Tam O'Shanter. You had
Old Brooksville.
Nassau Country Club.
Yeah.
There's another one on that. There's about 6 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So Tommy Agee. I'm a Met fan, so I don't care about the Red Sox. I'm a Met fan, so I was watching the '69 World Series sitting on my father's lap. Tommy Agee makes this catch, and he's like my childhood hero, right?
Very cool.
So we become friends later on through golf, and he would have, he'd have like his yearly minimum, right? They'd have to spend at that. I can't think of the club's name, but it's on that 107. It's like some anyway. We would play golf like every afternoon, and he'd tell me, "Hey, for whatever you want, do whatever you want, because if I don't spend it, they're gonna bill me for it anyway." Yeah, that was one of those things that happens through golf that I get to play with my childhood hero, and he went to pick up a punch, and I said, "Tommy, look, I love you. You've been my childhood hero. I got a poster of you. You better make that fucking putt."
So I too were woken up in 1986 to watch Bob Stanley lose our 86.
Yeah, that's right. It was a Boston. There is a Boston Bill Buckner.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm very familiar with it. So I got to meet my personal trainer who mentored me in bodybuilding and weight training. Was a Long Island legend, Steve Mahalik. He had a gym in Farmingdale on Hempstead Turnpike, and a couple of his clients to note are the former owner of the mess, Salt Cass.
Okay.
So he's brother-in-laws with Will Pond, so I got to meet him a couple times, and then Stu Feiner, who's on Barstool, the Loudmouth. He's a really good guy, the bookmaker guy. But yeah, the Long Island's been good to me. And then you got James Hong and Kirk Uguri. So you got like, the four horsemen of
Kirk. Okay, well, Kirk,
Uguri from Pete's Golf.
Kirk, I know for a long time. I knew Kenny Pecknick before Kirk.
Yeah, yeah.
Kenny Pecknick, Woody and him used to have the fishing pole drivers, and Pete
Boy.
used to do our club repairs. James Hong, I gave James first. James came into the golf business. I hired him.
So,
Okay.
so Blaine the Hong should really be Blaine the Ralph.
James was a fencing coach.
Yes. Trinity.
If you ask James how he got in if he ever shares it with you.
I haven't got that. Usually with Hong, it's hard to get past donuts. And
He didn't know. Yeah, so he said hello to me the other day on one of the interviews. But from there he went to Clearview.
Yeah.
And he's Korean. The guy who was there left to Korea, and he took over all those juniors there. The parents entrusted him, and he just started working his way up. And now he's at I forget the little course that Billy Casper.
Fort Jefferson.
Yeah, in Port Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's not in Port Jeff. It's right off
Harbor Links.
Harbor Links. That's like on
not Port Jeff, Port Washington.
It's on Northern Boulevard.
Port Washington.
Yes, Port Washington. Yeah, right.
Different
Port.
Yes,
side. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Michael. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I mean, we could sit here till tomorrow. I really, but I know you're amped up from your victory, and we can sit here and celebrate and talk about what
Well, I appreciate the time, and it's an honor for Ralph. I really appreciate the questions and your contribution to golf over the past 20 years of these blogs. I know I've looked at them now to put the name to the face and to be on one. It's really fun. So I really appreciate you reaching out. And sorry it was last minute to get this in, but
it is what it is. But I was able to get you, and I appreciate you making the time for me. And again, I met you now, and you got a new friend. You can, whenever you want, just reach out. If there's anything I can do to help you, call me, brother.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.